hope you're doing well wherever you are. My name is Nitin Nadkar. I live in the US and it's one of those beautiful Saturday evenings out here. I just happened to finish reading a few lines of a new book that I bought. I read something very inspirational that I feel compelled to talk about with you. And I hope that it will stir the same emotions in you as it did for me. But before I do that, I want to acknowledge the devastation COVID has caused in India. People are engulfed in pain, deaths, sorrow, confusion, and fear. Not a single week has gone by where I have not heard about a family or a friend or a co-worker or an acquaintance die due to this frightening virus. I lost my father due to COVID last year, May 2020, and he was just gone. He was gone in 2 days. I have never had a chance to even meet my mother since then. We merely spoke on the phone and we've carefully avoided the very sensitive topic. I'm very proud of my mother. I'm in awe of her mental fortitude. The way she handled the loss in a certain boldness and yet continued ever since to remind me, my family and my sister's family that the best way is to always look forward. You know, it's very difficult to stay positive when there is so much negativity around. The constant negative news has the power to pull down mentally any one of us. So it's very difficult to stay positive. I began to ask myself that what can I do to stay positive, even if it's for a few minutes in a day. I realized that I enjoy reading books, especially I read a lot about people, successful people. I try to catch up on their journey to success and see what is it that they have done to get to where they are today. So I went to the bookstore earlier this week and bought 2 books. And I began reading on them, began reading both of them immediately. And in fact, it's one of those books that I was just reading that I'm just going to share in a few minutes with you. Okay, so let me read this book for you. Let me read a specific paragraph that really got me inspired. Let me just read it for you. As a child, Paparai performed poorly at school, placing 62nd in a class of 65, and he suffered from low self-esteem. In the 9th grade, he was given an IQ test that changed his life. I went to the guy who administered the test and said, "What does this result mean?" He said, "Your IQ is at least 180. You are just not applying yourself." It was like someone whipping a horse and it starts. That was a big turning point in my life. People have to be told they have something in them. And it was this line that really got me. In fact, it just took me from where I am today to several years ago, at least 20 years ago, in my own personal life. When I read this line, people have to be told that they have something in them. And I'll take a few minutes here to tell my story. I hope you love listening to that. But it went like this. I was 21-year-old that time. I had just finished my undergraduate in physics. I was not very sure what I was going to do with my life. All my peers were mostly in engineering schools or they were very much into their medical schools. I was not like one of them. So I started doing odd things or anything that comes along. I started pursuing those things. I took up a job at a computer training institute and I started teaching the subject of networking. In the evenings, I took a part-time course where I could learn about personnel management. And if this was not enough, over the weekends, I started doing any kind of volunteering jobs. I remember one such volunteering job was assisting some management expert in putting together this management seminar. And my job was to sort the mail that he got, pack the flyers in the boxes, and take those boxes and ship it to a specific location that he wanted me to go and do that. I did that, and that was me at that time. As you can see that I had no interest in doing all these things. I was just doing this mainly to hide my shame of not being good enough. And naturally, this was not a phase of life where I was feeling very positive about myself either. But anyway, as this was happening, the one thing that stayed with me was a friend of mine who was with me at undergraduate. He later went on to attend a very prestigious engineering technology school in India. He was genuinely a gifted thinker and he was intellectually so much superior than me, yet he remained my best friend. I remember that we would meet up when his school was out. That's during the time when he was between the different years. And it was a fairly common ritual. It used to go like this. I would meet him on Sundays. Every weekend, I would go to his place, and then together we would make some plans to explore the city, Mumbai, on his not so stylish two-wheeler. But before we could do that, I also had to spend some time with his father, who sort of took a liking to me. My friend's father was a training manager for a manufacturing company. He was a magician on the side and he had an amazing voice. Truth be told, I was mesmerized by him and the stories that he had to share with me. Actually, I started looking forward to those conversations. In fact, even when I go to India today, I still spend time with his father before me and my friend could make some plans to do something else. That tradition continues even till date. It was one such evening that I went to my friend again, and me and his father started talking. My friend suddenly started dropping hints at me and his father that, hey, we need to rush, we need to go, so can you just cut it short? Usually his father would not get deterred by his so-called hints, and he would continue to enthrall me with his stories and anecdotes. But for some reason that day, he abruptly cut it short, and he said, all right, guys, you carry on, guys. All right, I got up from the seat and we went to the door. He followed us. As soon as I was done wearing my shoes and tying my shoelace, he tapped on my back and he looked at me, just at me, and with a very warm, fatherly smile, he said, make a dent wherever you go. I giggled, said yes, and I ran downstairs with my friend, once again ready to explore the city of Mumbai. As me and my friend drove around, his father's words started to take effect on me. Let me go back to the days when I was volunteering for this particular event. I remember that I used to drop off these big boxes to a side entrance of this particularly grand hotel. This was a newly built hotel. It was a 7-star hotel. And I always wanted to go in, but even the outside looked so spectacular that I was completely dazed. I remember this hotel was sort of perched atop a hill, if you will. It had such a magnificent porch on the outside, huge ceilings or high ceilings, and massive crystal chandeliers hanging down, and the car park lanes were all well paved. I always wanted to see the hotel from inside, but I could never make it. Anyways, I told my friend that, hey, listen, let's do something different today. I'll take you to a place, I'll take you to a hotel. It's called as Hotel Regent. Let's go there. My friend asked, well, why are we going there and what will we do there? I told him, well, don't worry about it. We will just go there and we'll just walk into the hotel as if we belong there. My friend was now certainly excited, but he was also a bit anxious. Nevertheless, he agreed to the dare that we thought of. So as we reached there, I told my friend that let's park our two-wheeler somewhere else so that people won't look at us, on that two-wheeler, because if they do, they would size us up and probably they will not, help us. It would not help us, or we would not be able to go inside the hotel. We did that. And then I said, let's do the following. We said, let's walk confidently. Let's not pay any attention to anybody around us. Let's keep walking and talking as if we belong here. And then we'll just go through this double door of the hotel. Now, back in the day, those hotels were severe, they were guarded. I remember this particular hotel, the double door of this hotel, stood a guard outside. He was a very tall, well-built man. He had a uniform. He wore a red turban. He had a red sherwani. Uh, he had a pair of matching slacks, and then he had a beautiful pair of high-heeled shoes. By the way, he also carried a sword which hung from his belt. But it's very interesting that my kids tell me that I should not use the word sword. It's actually sword. So now I've gotten better at it. So it's sword. So the sword hung from his belt. Anyways, I told my friend that, listen, we just continue walking like this and as if nothing is wrong, and we belong here. If we get interrupted, I would take up the question and I'll say, sir, we just got to go and pee. That's it. That was my backup answer. Anyways, we started walking confidently. We started going towards the hotel entrance and talking some meaningless stuff in English language just to impress, the people around us. And we started walking, and sure enough, we reached at the doorstep of the hotel and fully expecting, and I looked at this guard and I gave him a nod, fully expecting that he would open the door. Guess what? He opened the door and we sailed through. A few seconds later, my friend and I couldn't contain our excitement that we actually had made it on the other side. I found a beautiful sofa that was in the lobby that we could sit on. We went there, and as soon as me and my friend sat there, my friend looked at me and he said, "Boss, sahi hai." Now that in vernacular means, boss, we did it. Make a dent wherever you go. I felt the exact same feeling the way as Monish Pabrai in this book felt when somebody told him that he had an IQ of 180. I would say that those lines from my friend's dad were truly game-changing for me. Most importantly, it helped me drop the imposter syndrome. From there on, wherever I went or whatever I tried to do, I always tried to put a dent wherever I went. This book kind of reminded me of that story, so I thought I'll share that personal anecdote as well. In this time and around, if you are this time around when there's a lot of uncertainty, negativity going on, I found that getting into this book and reading some of the philosophies of some of the best investors in the world was something very refreshing, very engaging. This book is called as Richer, Wiser, and Happier. William Green wrote this book. If you are in the hunt of a good non-fiction book, I really recommend this book. It's amazing. I'm already on chapter 4. Anyways, thank you for listening. I enjoyed talking to you. I hope you loved listening to this story. And I thought that if there was anything I had control on to create some positivity around me, it was through this book. Hope you can share this with your friends and family. If you have something similar, find a time to talk to your children, to your family, and at least take control of the few moments that you have and spread the positivity. Thank you for listening. I'll see you soon.